Several years ago, I ran into a meme that really impressed me. Stated more simply, human beings sometimes forgive, God always forgives, nature never forgives. The parable today is about God forgiving. The father asks his first son to work in the vineyard, and he says no, but then he changes his mind and goes to work. And then the father asks the second son to go and work, and he says yes, but he doesn't go. It's important to understand the context for this parable that we hear today. For us, it's the 26th Sunday of Ordinary Time. But when Jesus speaks this parable in the Gospel, it's the week before his death. He has been confronting the religious leaders, confronting their stubbornness, challenging them on their unwillingness to learn and to change. He made a point that the tax collectors and the prostitutes, probably two of the most despised groups in the Jewish culture of his time, that they were going to enter heaven before the religious leaders. At first, the tax collectors and the prostitutes had turned away from God, but then they listened to John the Baptist and to Jesus. They were converted, and God forgave them, and so now they were being welcomed into the kingdom of heaven. But the religious leaders were like the second son. They also heard John the Baptist and Jesus, but they didn't pay attention to what was being said. They didn't take the message to heart. They were not converted, and for that they would be excluded from the kingdom. That type of conversion is required for us too. We have to listen to Jesus and the Scriptures, to the teaching of the church, to the values that our family and our parents give us, to the inspiration of the Holy Spirit, to what God says to us in our prayer and in our reading and reflection. And we have to let all of that influence us. It's not enough to say, oh, that's really nice, but we need to be converted. We have to change our lives, change our behavior. St. Paul in the second reading gives us a model for the behavior that we should have, and he puts before us Jesus. He says Jesus emptied himself, and he encourages us to have the same mind in us that Jesus had in himself. He said he emptied himself. He did not hold on to, he did not cling to his status as the Son of God. He didn't cling to seeking enjoyment or success or the status as the teacher and as Son of God. Rather, he gave himself to serving other people with real generosity, real compassion. And we're called to imitate him in this, in serving our brothers and sisters. We're also called to respect and to honor creation. The religious leaders at the time of Christ, they heard the teaching of John the Baptist and Jesus, but they didn't listen to them. They were not converted. And we also, as humanity, as nations, as individuals, haven't listened to the prophets speaking to us about respecting creation. I remember when I was in the seminary, there was a woman, a marine biologist named Rachel Carson, who wrote a book called The Silent Spring, about the danger of insecticides and chemicals and all sorts of pollution. And she became the spokesman of the environmental movement. Actually, she basically started it in the United States. Others have followed her, different politicians and others, many scientists. And in our own day, we have people like Greta Thunberg, the 17-year-old, who has become a very strong spokeswoman for the environment, and other people also who are speaking out now. Pope Francis is speaking out. He is emphasizing this season of creation, and he's warning us that we too have to listen to the cry of the earth. He's saying the fires, the floods, the storms, the extinction of the species, the droughts, and all the disasters, those are warnings. That's the earth speaking to us, and we need to listen to those. We can't just dismiss that and say, oh, everything's going to be okay. So Pope Francis, in this season of creation, is asking us to really listen to the warnings that we're being given. And just as we must be like Jesus and change our relationship with our brothers and sisters, so we also need to listen to Jesus and listen to the earth and change our relationship with all of creation. As Christians, we're called to love God and others, and we're called to love all of creation. It's not simply through the words that we say, but more importantly, in the way that we give ourselves for the good of all. And so I think as we reflect during the season of creation, we might ask ourselves, in my life, where is God calling me to more action and to fewer words?